Once upon a time, games were region locked, but with the 7th generation consoles, this lockout was removed and we were finally able to play any game from any region on any console without modding or using any tricks. However, differences between regions still remain, and even though they're not locked, there are some small differences, most of them being physical, but not only. I have multiple games to show, so I'm gonna dig and check for the most obvious differences between them. Spider-Man. The cover seems to be pretty much identical. The text on the spine is larger on European version. The back looks more or less identical, it's just a different language. Inside, the disc is a lot different. On US version it's just a Spider-Man symbol, but on the European version is the whole character in action. And the United States version also have a reversible cover. The cover is almost the same. However, on European version it's written that includes a bonus reversible cover art. The text on the spine is a lot different. In Europe it's just a basic font, while in the United States is the Uncharted logo. The back is almost the same too, but on European version it says once more what's the bonus, some multiplayer skins, reversible cover and so on. The disc is extremely different, in the United States having the same image as the front cover, but in Europe it's completely different. That looks like a map to me. Regarding reversible cover, the US version has an image inside, but that's not a cover and has no text on spine. Here I have a PlayStation Hits release. It's basically the same game but relaunched later. I see in Europe the text is a lot larger, no matter if we talk about Game of the Year awards or the title. The Naughty Dog logo is missing in the US. The spine is once more a lot different, a custom text logo in the United States and just a basic font in Europe. And on the back cover it's a completely different text. Inside, the European version has no PlayStation Hits text, and the disc looks identical with the standard version, while in the United States, the fact it's a PlayStation Hits is clearly printed. There is some image inside, and the plastic case is red in the United States, matching the PS Hits, while in Europe it's just a standard blue. Both covers looks absolutely the same, just a different age rating. The spine is the same, just that on Australian version is the age rating, same as on previous UK version. And the back is the same. The disc also looks the same, but the print on Australian version is a bit brighter. One interesting thing I noticed, on Australian version the Game of the Year awards text is printed in silver, while in Europe it's just printed in white. Well, the first The Last of Us release for PlayStation 3. Here I have 3 versions: Japan, the United States, and Europe. So once more, the United States, Europe, and Japan. Here I notice the title of the game is a lot smaller and doesn't have the only for PlayStation indicator. Here they promoted the game as being from the creators of Uncharted. Most probably that helped in Europe. In the US it's just the basic cover, with the standard title and the text only for PlayStation. In Europe we have the mysterious yellow dot, a symbol of network pass, and from the creators of Uncharted. otherwise it's the same. Here, in Japan, a smaller title, and the image is a bit cropped. Not much, but just a bit. And in my case, the image is a bit blurry. I don't know if this is just in my case. Obviously, the text is in Japanese, and here is the age rating on the spine, while in the US is the region code. And in Europe, the network symbol. At the back they are completely different. In the US we have only 2 pictures, while in Europe we have their portraits. Once more the network pass and the creators of Uncharted. On Japanese version I don't understand what it says, but I see a lot of text. I also see there are completely different text describing the game. Now let's have a look inside. On the disc is printed an abandoned city, same as on the main cover. Here we have a portrait with Joel, and here a portrait with Ellie. In Europe, the disc is just printed in black. And here we have a dynamic scene from the game. In Japan, we have their portraits printed on the disc. And under that, we have some text, a code, and a clicker. Here, excepting the age rating symbol, I see no difference. Even though this is from Saudi Arabia, the whole text is in English. And excepting the layout, everything is just the same. Here I found something interesting. The Saudi Arabian version has no age rating printed on the disc. As you can see, this is how it looks the European disc, and this is how it looks Arabian disc. I kinda like this, and I think this looks fantastic in Steelbook. Considering it's all red, having the disc without age rating symbols seems to be perfect. Here, the European version I have is still sealed and I have no reason to open it. However, everything seems to be the same. The only major difference I see is the text on the spine. Once more, in Europe, it's just the basic font. Within Europe, the Grand Theft Auto looks the same, just the age rating is different. The spine is just the same, and surprisingly, I can see a custom text. The disc is just the same, and it has both age ratings printed. The map is also the same, but the German version has everything written in German language. Same thing for GTA 4, they're all the same, but just different languages. Same thing for Spider-Man. Same front cover, same back cover, and same disc. Just a different age rating. Here on Sonic Origins, at least on the sleeve, they look pretty much the same. On the left side is the North American version, and on the right side is the European version. I notice in Europe is missing the Sega symbol. And at the back, almost no difference. Here, the disc once more looks absolutely identical, just a different age rating. But what's absolutely awesome and makes the difference is the reversible cover. Here I have the North American version where Sega was named Genesis. And here I have the European version where Sega was named Mega Drive. And not only the logo is different, but the cover image, the spine, and also the back. Here on the spine I have Sega Genesis, and here I have Sega Mega Drive. I think this is a great touch and I absolutely love such attention to details. When it's about Uncharted collection, they look a lot different. On the right side I have the European version, which is from Italy, and on the left I have the American version from the United States. Again, as expected, the text on the spine is just a basic font in Europe, while in the US is the Uncharted logo. This is the back cover. However, what I notice is that the layout in Europe is meant to match the individual release of each single game as a remastered version. For example, here I have Uncharted 3 Remastered, and there is a similar release for Uncharted Drake's Fortune and Uncharted 2 Among Thieves. So basically the Nathan Drake collection in Europe is supposed to be a bundle of these 3 individual games. As far as I know, they were never released in North America as individual remastered version, but only part of Nathan Drake collection. Now inside they both look the same, just small differences. In Europe the Naughty Dog logo is missing. Not all games are that different, and here is an example where I couldn't find any difference. The European cover just looks more clean. Excepting the age rating system, which is obviously different, everything else seems to be identical. Once more, the disc is a lot different and they chose a completely different artwork. In the United States looks a lot more in action, while in Europe it's just Jacob posing for a photo. Here is another example within Europe. There is UK, Germany, and other countries. As seen, in Germany it's a completely different cover. In UK there is the age rating on the spine. The disc looks identical. Regarding the plastic case, so far they're all made by Amaray. They're a bit different but not something relevant. However, what I noticed is the fact there is used a different paper. The one in Europe is a lot thicker and heavier. I'm pretty sure this is not the best scale, but even this one can show the difference. In North America, the paper has 4 grams on my scale. And on the same scale, the paper in Europe has 6 grams. Trying the same test with a different paper from a different game. Once more, in the United States, 4 grams. In Japan, 4 grams. And in Europe, 6 grams. So basically in Europe they're using a better quality paper. I also have the feeling the disc has a better finishing quality in Europe and Japan. But that's extremely hard to prove, so I wouldn't count on that. And the last thing is how the games were bundled with the console. On the left side I have the games from Europe, and we can see there is a large yellow square not to be sold separately, because they were inside the box with the PS4. On the right side, these two covers are completely clean, with no such text. However, there is a small text on the back cover, simply saying, "Not for resale." Getting back to Europe, there is also a text on the back cover and not just only on the front cover. I think that's enough with physical differences. I chose so many because I wanted to show it's not just a particular game where things are different. Now regarding other differences, there are some. For example, censorship. In The Last of Us, some gore scenes were censored. Here on the left side is the version in the United States, and on the right is the same scene from Japan. The blur was made by me, but in Japan there is a completely different scene. This is not a big difference and doesn't affect the game, but it's something. There are some more, but I can't talk about each single one of them. One big difference is the language. While the console and the game is region-free, each version has particular languages included. In America, there are 4 languages: English, French, Spanish, and Portuguese. Those are languages for the countries where this game is supposed to be sold. French is for Canada, Spanish for Mexico, Portuguese for Brazil, and so on. In Europe, speaking of the same game, there are 14 languages. Not only those that were available in America, but many more, because in Europe are spoken many more languages. In Japan, things are a lot easier. There are only 2 languages included, English and Japanese, and that's all. So basically I can get the game from any part of the world, but if I live in Europe, let's say Germany, and I want to have the dialogue or the subtitle in Deutsch.
Was soll das denn werden?
Zeit totschlagen.
Oh, und was soll ich jetzt machen?
Ich bin sicher, dir fällt irgendwas ein.
I'd have to get the European version, otherwise this language would not be included elsewhere.
Deine Uhr ist kaputt.
I ain't buying it.
If I speak English, I say I can get the game from any part of the world because each single version includes English language. So far, this is a part of my experience with games from different regions. I talked mostly about PlayStation because this is the platform where I have the most examples to show. But same thing applies on other platforms too. For example, Nintendo Switch, Xbox, or Sega, and so on. Have a great day, and see you in the next video.